der zentralen Position, muss Schwanzer unter der Vorsicht, dann ist es Fjørtoft, der ist im Strafraum, Tor! Tor! Für die Frankfurter Eintracht, 5:1!
Hi and welcome to the German Fußball podcast. I am, as always, joined by Dad in my very, very nice room, and I see the David Beckham picture there in the background. Probably the best day of my life as a kid. I think I told you that at the time. That was at Old Trafford. You have been in Manchester last weekend, but you were at City. A very, actually, not so busy weekend for you because it was only one game. And you look well and rested. So how was that? You saw a loss, actually. That was really pretty rare.
Yeah, I saw a loss. That's point number one. But as you say, just for the photo, you cut your hair 5 years in a row as David Beckham did, and then you stopped it when it did that. Took all off. Then you stopped. You didn't want to do that. And I remember I got this signed autographs because at that time the national coach was Sven-Göran Eriksson and his assistant coach was Tord Grip, who used to be my national coach like 200 years ago for Norway. So I was watching their training, and then I came home with a signature, and I remember I promised you will meet him in the next year. I think, well, how are we going to do that? So I love this Beckham story because you met him there. You had a great day. Sven-Göran Eriksson and Tord Grip, they organized everything. And Beckham, the gentleman he was, you had a photo with Michael Owen, Wayne Rooney, Steven Gerrard, and you have all the photos. But the good thing about David Beckham is that when you followed me to Rosenborg, Real Madrid, and I was a host then for the program, and I was supposed to have David Beckham coming up to me and do a live interview, live on tape, which means that we are cheating a bit that he's coming up. So I saw he's coming down in the stairs. So I go down to him and I say, "Good to see you again, David." I played against him when he was a kid. When he was a kid, then I was more or less at the end of my English career. And then I said, up there is Markus, my son. That is the guy you met at Old Trafford. So David Beckham turns around on his way up to the studio, and he goes over to you and say, "Hi, Markus, good to see you again." Mm-hmm. And I still get goosebumps for that because I think that is the way how to treat fans. And you were a big fan, and you got all the different shirts signed. So that was a great day for you.
Yeah, it was a fantastic day. I still remember that moment so vividly when you went down the tunnel at Old Trafford. I can still feel the butterflies. But a very nice anecdote. But we'll go into the Bundesliga. And I'm trying to find a transition or a segue here. I don't have any, so we'll just go into it in the sense that Bayern have now 10 wins in a row, and their best and key player is Musiala, who is their youngest ever Bundesliga player, who was their youngest ever goal scorer, and Lothar Matthäus cannot have the superlatives, the adjectives, the whole lot enough to explain his excitement of how good he thinks he is. And as we know, Lothar Matthäus is God in Germany. Do you share his excitement for this young talent?
Absolutely. Musiala, if there's a lot of people who haven't seen him live, of course, but there's not even a lot of our listeners or our viewers who have seen him actually play, because I know we got a lot of English listeners to this episode, and that's why we have an English, the only German football podcast that is in English straight away. But Musiala used to play with Bellingham, and Jude Bellingham and himself, they were a kind of a couple, the brothers in arms in the youth national teams of England. And for family reasons he had a chance to choose between England and Germany. And for Germany, of course, there was a great added player. It was like a transfer mark when Musiala decided then to play for Germany. And what Lothar Matthäus said, Markus, he said, first of all, there's no chance, because last year he didn't get as many games that he wanted to. And then Julian Nagelsmann came out of the preparation, the training camp, the preseason, and said that Musiala has had a fantastic preseason. And he's been there since. He's a top scorer. And like you're saying, he's breaking all kind of records. He's the first teenager, I think, Bayern have had who come to to 100 games.
He made his 100th appearance against Schalke at the weekend.
He did, and another assist. I'm not 100% sure if that assist was to the guy who got a goal, but who cares? Sometimes that is just what is happening. But what Lothar Matthäus said, there is no chance he cannot be in the first team of Bayern. And before people say, what do you mean first team? Yeah, because there is a lot of players fighting for those places. Remember, this is a club that didn't used to play with a number 9 after Lewandowski. Now they have a Choupo-Moting who scored again, by the way. But so these between players, between midfield and strikers, there are not many places for them. And they play with Goretzka and Kimmich as two number 6. But this weekend, Kimmich played right back, which is a part of the Philipp Lahm kind of thing. Been a lot of debate in Germany if he should play there. Sometimes it could be tempting, I think, for Julian Nagelsmann to do that, because then he can kind of take out a weaker man, weaker in terms of status in the club, and he can put another one in central. But Kimmich and Goretzka being good at number 6. But you have Koeman, you have Gnabry, who's been on fire lately, which is fantastic for Germany going into the World Cup, as Müller has been out with an injury. But Müller is traveling now with the team, and he has his same comic Instagram videos and doing all his stuff. So he I guess he'll be ready. But Musiala is on fire, absolutely on fire, and it's a joy to watch him, because he looks like the boy next door. He's like the boy when you see a young kid or a girl next door just enjoy football, and you just thinking, wow, it's so good to see. He loves his football. He loves the ball. He loves just to be, and he's doing that on a football pitch. And Lothar then tried to, for the fourth time, to what he said. He said he should never be sold, and if his value would be €250 million, I think he said. Mm-hmm. That's €250 million. And if you think of that, Bellingham wants to, they're talking about him going for 150. Then we know what the value and how they value Musiala. But he has no clause in his contract. So he will stay at Bayern. He is there at Bayern, and he will stay there for I guess at least a couple of more seasons.
It's an incredible season. It'll be exciting to see him in the Germany squad, which we will do a preview of, Dad, before they get started, to see how they set up that team. While Bayern now are the undisputed league leaders, could you say, going into this break, we were discussing the other league leaders for a fair bit throughout our episodes. The surprise of the season, Union Berlin. And what a fantastic, by all accounts, a fantastic first half of the season. Unfortunately, discolored, could you say, by these last few games. How do you explain what can only be described as just an absolute crumbling?
Yeah, they are crumbling, but I think what you have to think where they come from. This is a club who came into the German Bundesliga as a surprise. They survived as a surprise. They went into the Europa League as a surprise. They were leading the Bundesliga as a surprise. So I think it's a bit more. If Union Berlin was a share which has been very, very high, now they're kind of adjusting. Right. I don't think we are talking about a recession, to use the share and the economic metaphors. I think they'll kind of be there. I've used the metaphor before, because Freiburg and Union were ahead of all the other bikers in Tour de France up the mountains, and like Bayern didn't take them serious because they knew that they will catch them later. So we know in summer when we watch Tour de France and 1 minute 20, 1 minute 50 seconds, but some of these leaders, you see, when they get caught, they just disappear. I don't think they will disappear. I think the Union Berlin now is in a stage where they just have to adjust. Okay. The break, I think, was great for them now. 2 last away games. They lost 5-0 to Leverkusen, lost 4-1 to Freiburg at the weekend, and which is normal. And then they had the midweek game 2-2 against Augsburg. So So I think that this is just 1 week of the season. So crumbling they've just done for 1 week. I think it's great for them now. Bit disappointed now that they lost the league, the leaderboard, so to say, and the Bundesliga. But I think that after 2-3 days in the holiday, they will think, wow, we're up there. We're on the top of the Bundesliga. We are up there. We are ahead, still ahead of Dortmund. Talking about Dortmund, we will probably do. And so Union Berlin, fantastic what they've done so far. Great job they've done. And I still think they will be a contender for Europa League this season.
No Champions League?
No. Champions League, we have, well, a bit of the usual suspects back. First of all, Bayern, we pray to the Lord, who the Lord is, and whoever we call the Lord, is that we pray to the football god that we're coming into the World Cup break. Bayern wouldn't have already got the trophy, but after winning, like, was it 10 games you said in a row?
Well, that's in all competitions, 10 games
in all competition, but still they had a spell of 4 games when we thought that there's going to be some excitement in the Bundesliga. Now they're flying away again. Leipzig, through their fantastic run, as is up there. Freiburg seems to be consistent. They're up there.
Freiburg second spot, and Christian Streich and his team are like, they've stayed rather consistent. And this is not random, that is it? Because last season they were very close to getting the Champions League as well and made the German Cup final. Yeah,
so what I will say was Bayern, Freiburg. You will have Leipzig there, of course. Leipzig is back now, and you just feel with the quality they have. There are some people, especially Chelsea fans, dreaming that Nkunku will go to Chelsea in the winter break. Why should Red Bull do that? Why should RB Leipzig do that? They're coming up with some great Champions League games. They need to secure the Champions League position as well. So I can't see that he will go next summer. Well, apparently that is fixed, but it's nothing official yet. But I can't see that happening in the winter time. You always got to feel that Dortmund got to be there. And then you go to Eintracht Frankfurt. And Eintracht Frankfurt to play 1-1 in a local derby. I spoke to their CEO before the game, on the way to the game. And he said, let's just make sure now that we use this last game of 2022 to kind of confirm maybe the best, a great year. Because it was not his quote saying that it was the best year. I was saying that. This is probably the best year that Eintracht Frankfurt has ever had. They winning the Europa League, winning the final against Rangers. They have their Super League game against Real Madrid, qualified through their win in the Europa League for the Champions League. They have some unbelievable away games in the Europa League, but I also know in Lisboa, when they were 1-0 down, they had to win, turn it around, winning 2-1, and qualified for the knockout stage. A tricky draw against maybe if we did a power ranking of teams, we would put Napoli in there. Hopefully they're not in that good form when coming February, but a fantastic year for Eintracht Frankfurt 2022, and I think they can't believe it how it's going. So 1-1, another goal for our transfer of the season, French guy Moani. I think that they've been happy with that 1-1, and I can see them being around there to be stable. They have in Oliver Glasner. They have one of the best coaches around. He will be linked. He is linked to a lot of the big top jobs. And as we know, the most coaches, especially from the Bundesliga, he's Austrian, but still you feel like the German kind of trend in the Bundesliga, in the Premier League. So you feel that Glasner will come there. You have Krösche, who is a great head of sport who gets good players in. So I will expect them to be up there.
Yeah, and one in Götze combined for that goal, and it will be fun to see what kind of role he will play in the World Cup. As for other teams that could be there for the Champions League spots, we had the battle of the Borussias, Gladbach against Dortmund, 4-2. Gladbach win deserved. Former Dortmund player Hoffmann, who's in the Germany squad, tormented his former club with 1 goal and 2 assists. And I mean, you have a back line for Dortmund with both Schlotterbeck and Süle who are going. Hummels will be disappointed not to, but could not seem to stop what was a very, very deserved win for Gladbach.
Yes, so first, Marcus, I think we have to need a jingle, because I think we should put in now a jingle for Bellingham update. So when I will now speak about the defense of Dortmund, then I will take a short 2 seconds break that you can put in a jingle, because I think we have to have update when we have Bellingham update, and then you'll have a voice in there somehow. You can.
We'll discuss the sound effects we're going to use for that.
Yeah. Can you get some great sound effects? Now, Hummels not in the squad didn't surprise me somehow, because you just got a feeling that when Hansi Flick, he could take in some of the old boys. He took in Götze, but at the back he felt that he was okay with Schlotterbeck and Süle. Quite coincidentally, the players that are playing Dortmund, and Hummels had a terrible game. He wasn't good at all. It was easy to say that Hummels, that was because of the backlash of not being nominated and all those kind of things. I think that is sometimes simple to say that, because to be fair, Dortmund struggle a lot. The funny thing is, or the interesting thing is, and the challenging thing is now for Dortmund is, of course, as Marco Rose that they fired is doing so well with Leipzig, and they are ahead of them in the table. And Terzic, who was the young hope, and I say the young hope, and I say it in a complimentary way, although I say it a bit funny, because Terzic was always waiting there, because they felt if it didn't work out. Remember, they took Rose on a transfer fee. So Terzic is a prestige project for them, because this is the manager they wanted. Terzic is also a Dortmund fan. He's always with the fans. He's always been a fan there. So this is not good for them. And we've talked about Farke and Gladbach being a bit out of form, but kind of get themselves back going again. So bad game for Dortmund. And they're if they were a share, they are going down. The spiral is going down. So I will take the 3 seconds now, Marcus. Yeah, news on Bellingham is that CEO Watzke of Dortmund has said in an interview in Germany that when the World Cup is over, we will sit down with Jude Bellingham and ask him what he wants to do. If he wants to go or if he wants to stay. If he wants to go and one of the big clubs come in with an enormous amount, there is no chance we can compete with him, CEO Watzke is saying. What he's really saying is that if Jude Bellingham wants to go, then he will go. And how I read this, that next summer he will leave the club. There is no chance that he will go in the winter time. That is, a club like Dortmund can't do that. They are enough criticism of letting the best players go, but to let him go in the middle of the season, that they can't do. So now the big clubs will be fighting for him. We know that Real Madrid is in for him. Aging midfield. You feel that if they use the same analysis as Team Haaland is doing, Real Madrid will have some spaces available. We know that Liverpool is in there. Jurgen Klopp, being the best mate of CEO Watzke, will be in there. Manchester City will definitely be in there. They will always look for those kind of players, and they will always also have the amount of money to take him. Manchester United has been linked with him, but at least he got to be sure to play in the Champions League. And I think that Jude Bellingham, there is a bigger chance that he will go back to England because he is English and going back to his home country.
Would you revise your statement? You've said previously that he might do a Ronaldo, in which he said, "Okay, I'll stay for a year, and then you can go." Do you think that still can happen?
I think that is. If I was advising Borussia Dortmund, and if they had the financial fundament to do that, but I think that, Marcus, when you are in a position, if you can get I'm not saying you will get 150, but let's say will be over 100. I just trying to be realistic here. Then there's another ball game, because you are going to run a whole football club. You're going to pay the wages. You're going to get the new talents in there. and you don't. It's a lot to do with the attitude of Jude Bellingham. If he's ready to go, that could be a compromise with him. But I think that if you get the big offers that are destined to be with Jude Bellingham, because he can play in so many different positions, he is a raw player, great attitude. He is English, like I said before, can play 6, 8, 10. He can play in so many different positions. That is a time for a club to say, we just have to let you go. As my club, Frankfurt, has done when they sold 3 strikers after one season, when they had to sell Kostic because 1 year before it was like there was just transfer destined to happen. What we do know about Jude Bellingham, he is a great attitude, so there won't be any problem with him. So I believe when Watzke is saying we will sit down with the player and his father, who plays in the non-league system. Fantastic story, Marcus. If you're not updated now, have a look. We maybe talked about it last time as well. Very fascinating story, who is also his advisor. So I think they will find a solution. But after Watzke, what he said there, I think there's a big chance that Jude Bellingham will play for another club season 23-24.
And as we've discussed with Fabrizio on this podcast before, some of the value can be determined by his World Cup performances too, which could further inflate or increase the price. You and I are both big admirers of Jude Bellingham, so it'll be interesting to see where he goes as we head into the World Cup. Going on to the rest of the games, I guess on the topic of informed teams, if we talk about a RB Leipzig, Freiburg, even a Bayern, we also have those coming from behind, being Leverkusen, who made their third straight Bundesliga win. They have as many points in the Bundesliga in 6 days, I believe, that they had in their previous 12 Bundesliga games, which says a lot. So it seems like Xabi Alonso has steadied the ship. The other team being, which we discussed last episode, Niko Kovac, who are now have extended their Bundesliga unbeaten run to 8 games after coming down from a goal behind to win at Hoffenheim away. And it is nice to see these, which you have explained before, these historical clubs that have this proud tradition, to see them back in form. It's nice to have these teams back winning, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we are all human. You know that there's some of these managers, some of these coaches I have a special connection to, and then there's a much more liking. I've said it before. I'm a big admirer of Niko Kovac, also because I like him. He's a good guy. He's that mixture of humble guy that understand that I have to learn from every coach. He was a player at Bayern Munich. He played for Bayern Munich. Got his brother with him always. And I got to know him, like I said, when I played against him, and when he was the head coach of Croatia. But what is interesting with Wolfsburg is that Wolfsburg beat Hoffenheim 2-1 away from home, which is a great result. And if you take the German football table at the moment, you will have a department where it's only Bayern, so Bayern is up there. Yeah. Then you will have Dortmund, Leipzig. And then before the season, you would say Leverkusen could challenge for that. But then you have 4, 5, 6 teams who are in that next kind of group of teams. You will have Eintracht, Hoffenheim, Wolfsburg, Gladbach. I said Hoffenheim, but you will have all these teams. Yeah. And Freiburg, Union Berlin being like, okay, what are you doing here? Are you supposed to be here? So obviously win against one of your similar team, similar position. That is a great win from Wolfsburg, because at the end of the season, you will see who will fight out for the Europa League places. That could possibly be Wolfsburg and Hoffenheim. So that was a great win for them, as it was for Freiburg winning against Union Berlin. And another friend of mine who got putting in Cologne with Baumgartner, the manager there. They were on a high last season. He was the cult person, cult club. If you're going to see a club, then you don't go to the most famous one. Go to Cologne. Fantastic atmosphere at the stadium. So Hertha winning 2-0. It was a great win for them, for Hertha Berlin. And Freddy Bobic, that used to be the head of sport at Eintracht, of course.
And Hertha, I feel like it's been coming a bit. They've been a bit unlucky, maybe drawn a few games or lost a few games that they should have gotten more out from. Beat a Köln that, like you said, that are struggling. We spoke very, kind of sung their praises at the beginning of the season. It'll be interesting to see. So Hertha are out of the relegation playoff spot. And then you have you have Stuttgart, who obviously lost to Leverkusen. And then you have Bochum, who recorded back-to-back Bundesliga wins, who are getting still in the relegation spot, but getting out there. But I look at the table now, Dad, and it's somewhat the usual suspects that we had predicted at the season. As we kind of conclude this first half, things are somewhat, dare I say, normalized, especially in the bottom here. You have Schalke bottom. And let's just, before we conclude this, and we can take the relegation battle, what is there to do with a team like Schalke? Obviously, they lost now at against Bayern, which isn't surprising. But you would have thought that if you came up from the second Bundesliga, it serves as somewhat of a revival. They haven't seemed to be able to find that. What is there to hope from Schalke?
Well, what has been interesting the last 3, 4, 5 years is that a lot of the big clubs have gone down in the Zweite Bundesliga, the second Bundesliga. Schalke and Stuttgart managed to go down and go up again straight away, which was important. And Werder Bremen did the same. Hamburger Sportverein, it was one of the biggest club in German football. You can compare them with, when you say the big five in England, and if you do the big five in German football, I mean from history with Gladbach, Bayern, Hamburger Sportverein. I probably forget someone now because I've just taken the ones who win the title. Hamburger Sportverein also winning the Champions League back in the days. Felix Magath scored the winner. Ernst Happel, the Austrian, being the coach of that team, winning against Juventus, I think it was. So Hamburger Sportverein can't get up again. And you felt that when Schalke went down, you may say that it's good, he's fresh, you can start over again. But the problem with Schalke is so a lack of continuity, a lack of coaches. They kind of fire all the time. Now they got Reis, who was Bochum last season. So he knows the battle. He knows he won't tell you that Schalke is too good to go down. He will always. He's a worker. So that may be the right coach. But by not having continuity, it's not enough with history and great fans, because the Schalke fans are very passionate. Great stadium again, Schalke, to go there. But the lack of continuity, the lack of now money to invest in new players. This is a club who used to sign the best. This is a club that used to sign Raúl. Raúl was there at the club, you know. They were in the Champions League. They were in the semi-final of the Champions League. It's somehow forgotten. This is a modern time. They were in the semi-final of the Champions League. So it's just sad to see Schalke being up there, as it is great to see these new teams developing, these new teams doing well. Like I can take it another. You have Schalke, who is very high-profile team struggling, and Augsburg is always around there somewhere. But they kind of survive, and you can't throw at them. Yeah, it's because of the money, it's because of the rich people, as you can with Hoffenheim and Leipzig. But Augsburg is just hanging around there, doing their good job. Stefan Reuter has been like there for ages. Yes, they fire a coach then and again, but still they somehow survive. So the big clubs, Stuttgart is down there as well. Stuttgart being a part of a city, a very wealthy city. The Mercedes is, of course, there. This is a city. They think they are the Mercedes. When they look at the table, they see a Lada. They see a Trabant sometimes. And sometimes that is hard. They saved themselves in the last game of last season. But it seems they somehow will be down there again. And that is hard for these big clubs, because Bochum, they know what it's all about. Bochum, they will fight till the end. If they go down, they know there's a big chance that they will come up again. So I was watching, Marcus. I had a day off on Sunday when I came back. I was watching. I was doing one of the sessions we love to do, where you just lie on the sofa and we have
the best.
The live update from the Norwegian League, and that was the end of the season. And the big game was, again, it was a relegation zone, and you always know. And I guess I will be Mr. Relegation Zone in German Bundesliga after being part of that enormous drama in '99. So here it is, Sandefjord being 2-0 down. The head coach is Martin Ødegaard's papa, Hans-Erik. And Kristiansund, they had a draw. They were okay. But suddenly, the last 5 minutes, they scored 2 goals in Sandefjord, and Kristiansund went down. This is not to get people updated on Norwegian League. This is just to show you that how nerve-wracking relegation zone is. If you miss out on the Europa League place, if you miss out on the Champions League place, that could be financial followers for the club, of course. But if you go down, it's so enormous to go down, because people will lose their job, a whole region will lose their optimism, a whole region will lose their passion, and so on. And I think that is, for these big clubs, it's hard to live with those expectations, because a Schalke fan, to be in a relegation zone year after year after year, they're not used to that. They have learned about their history and so on. So I remember I was at Lillestrøm. My president always said, just get that amount of points that we need to stay in the league, and I would take it from there. Yeah. And I think a lot of clubs and Marcus, you've been involved in some relegation. Well, you've only been involved in relegation.
Too many. Too many in a short career.
Yeah, but to be fair, Marcus, if we can end with an update from the Scottish Championship, talk us through the Scottish Championship right now as it stands.
It's funny, because since I left Scotland, my former clubs, or the 2 out of 3, seem to have done extraordinary well and beyond people's expectations. I spent the last 2 seasons at Ayr and Greenock Morton, respectively. They are now number 1 and number 2. And very diplomatically, they played each other 2 weeks ago, and they drew. So the current standing is that, they are number 1 and number 2. So I will go back to Scotland in a month's time. Unfortunately, there's no games then, but I'll be sure to be back, and it's fantastic. And it would be incredible if either of them went up. But a long season where you play each other 4 times, which is a rather intense scheduling. But on that note, on a Scotland update note, also the Norwegian League we got in there, and also a bit of England, we conclude this. This will be the last, not the last German football podcast episode in a while, but it will be the last Bundesliga round in a while, until the end of January. However, we will do a World Cup kind of preview with Germany, and then we will also have a very exciting episode coming out on Wednesday with a current Bundesliga player, actually. So join us then for that episode. Dad, any concluding remarks?
No, it's just interesting to we've done the Bundesliga together now, and I will just thank everybody for the feedback we have on that. There is a lot of potential love for German Bundesliga also in the English talking countries, and we will have to thank for that. And as you said, Marcus, I will recommend the next episode we're bringing out, I guess when this is public, 24 hours later, with Ørjan Nyland, the goalkeeper of RB Leipzig, the Norwegian national team goalkeeper. That was a great chat. We've already taped that, so look forward to that, to listen to him talking about Marco Rose, what he's learning from the other the other strikers. I said all the strikers at Leipzig, how a goalkeeper can learn from them. And it's also interesting to listen to his football life story, because he's a player who's been down, but he like Frank Sinatra is saying, been down in his face, but he put himself back in the race. And Ørjan has done that many times. And both you, Marcus, and I know there is a lot of dark moments in football, but you live for those 5% of the light moments. And and he's explaining about the game he played for Leipzig when he made his debut, and he got a clean sheet and a win, which was a great thing. So I will absolutely recommend that episode. And the first time at the German football podcast that we had a current football player on, Marcus. So that was a big debut for us for our podcast.
Thanks for watching, and please subscribe. And if you have any comments, any issues, themes that you want us to discuss, give us a comment and we always reply to that. And if you know something that we don't know, which you probably do, just give us a shout.